After waking up, do you ever plan your day out while you're making breakfast? Organize all your to-dos you have on your daily chore list and how you're going to accomplish them? Then shortly after your plan is complete and you finish chewing your last bite of your meal, the entire day comes to a crashing halt almost immediately. Just simply after you get a text message, an email, or a phone call about something you weren't expecting you were going to do that day. Lately, I feel like that happens to me all the time, especially if it has to do with something Landcruiser related. Just the other day, that's exactly what happened to me after receiving a provoking text message.
Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this week's episode, we're going to do something we haven't done in quite a little bit of time, and that is go buy another Toyota Landcruiser. Well, actually, let's just go look at it first. So the story goes is I was finishing up my breakfast, and I got a message from somebody I didn't know. He was inquiring if I'd be interested in a Landcruiser that looked just like the one I had an ad online for. And well, being the Landcruiser guy that I am, of course I was. He really got my attention when he told me it was a diesel. 7 pictures later and a couple back and forth messages, and I was sold, and I'm ready to go check out this thing, and I hope you guys are too. So let's go meet up with my buddy Evan, and we're gonna carpool out to this old girl and see if we can drag another one of these things home. See when we're at the truck.
I expected the Rocky Mountains to be a little rockier than this.
I was thinking the same thing.
There she is.
Where'd you get? Was it yours?
That's a 5-speed. We're out here checking out this diesel 60. First time I've ever driven one. Motor seems tight. It's got a 5-speed, which is cool. That seems all tight. Stuff like that's a little concerning. It does have a little bit of frame rust on it, but everything else seems to be good. Like, paint's decent besides all the stuff in the back. It's all rusted out. Drives okay. Brakes are a little sketchy, and we are gonna try to drive it home. The dash isn't cracked at all. And look at this tailgate, 0 rust. Those are the type of things that I like to see when I'm picking up one of these things. So probably gonna go try to make a deal on it. I'm gonna drive back to the guy's house and see if we can make that happen.
And the reception isn't very— Shut up and take my money!
Well, that was a really quick deal. It's getting dark, so I wasn't able to film a lot of this truck, but it's my first diesel I've ever bought in the Landcruiser world, and it's pretty cool. We're gonna drive it home about an hour and a half and pray the sketchy brakes hold up, and we'll give you a tour when it's a little more light out. So let's go. The old clickety-clack diesel made it home yesterday. Quite frankly, I'm not really sure how that's possible since the brakes are shot, the tires are dry rotted, there's no interior lights, you can't tell how fast you're going because it's in kilometers, you can't see out of the windshield, and the windshield wipers don't really work at all. But despite all that, the rust and the rest of her made it home, so I must have made a great purchase, right? I mean, come on, it's a diesel. No, really. Despite all its downfalls, this truck's actually really cool. It's a 1987 HJ60, which means it has a 6-cylinder diesel that came in these trucks back then. Unfortunately, yesterday I wasn't able to take you along for the ride to really show you what I bought, and quite frankly, I wasn't able to see any of it either because it was basically dark. So I checked a few things out, made sure it was something that I wanted to pick up. So let's go ahead and take a quick tour of actually what I got yesterday. Well, it's kind of interesting because the front end of this truck looks like his 60 series, but as I was driving it home, I had 2 hours to really kind of figure out that it's more like a hybrid between a 60 and a 62, and kind of let me take you through and show you what I'm talking about. As I was combing through this vehicle last night, started to notice that it had a lot of the 62 features. It's probably because this is a 1987, which is that weird split year for the 60 series, because in 88 the 62 did in fact come out. So the first thing that I noticed when I dove under the truck was that it's under a 62 frame. The back end of the 62 frame is a little different, and as well as the front end. So as we dive inside is where it was really apparent it got a lot of that stuff. You can see there it got the 62 mirrors. A lot of the gauge cluster stuff is 62 era as well. Then you go over here and you look, the transfer case is not mechanical, it's in fact vacuum. Then you have your vacuum switch there as well. A couple other things to note in here is that this truck is a 5-speed. It's an H55, which is awesome to know and drives great on the highway. If you notice here, no rip in that seat. That is incredible. With that and a combination of this uncracked dash, which I don't think I've ever seen a 60 series dash in a truck like this that looked that good. Okay, so this truck won me over with the interior being as crisp as it is. These trucks don't particularly have a great batting average when it comes to rust. That's where it lost all its points. There is a lot of rust on this truck. Her entire rocker is holed up. It's got rust everywhere. More rust. Starting to get rust here, which is typical on that wheel well, as well as back here on the quarter. Somehow the rear tailgate, it made it out of the gate. I don't know how that's possible. It's actually really decent. The rear tag light is rusty. That's typical as well. You usually see a lot of that. And then we go over here and there's a gaping hole in this thing. I mean, I can't tell if that's rust, Bondo, or a combination of it all. And then we have foam. Stop putting foam in your rear fenders. It doesn't help anything. So obviously you've made it this far in the video, and you probably have only one question. Jonas, why the heck would you buy a truck that seems to be half rusted away, probably more Bondo than rust? Well, let me show you, because it's quite simple. She starts every time, and she sounds great. And come on, it's a diesel. All right, I'm not talking about what this truck is. It's about time we go and take it on a test drive, because it's super fun to drive. But dang, it's slow. And I thought the 60 series gas motors were slow. This is worse. Tractor. All right, we just got the classic motors from my place. We're gonna pull this truck in onto the rack. I wanna see how bad the undercarriage really is. So as you saw, it's a little crusty under the truck, but you know, the drivetrain looks pretty good. It looks like it has brand new calipers up front. Are having some issues with the brakes, like I keep saying, and it looks like the brake line in the back is leaking. So it's probably why there isn't much fluid in the reservoir up front. So depending on what I do with this truck, either part it out, fix it up, let it sit for a little bit. We may go ahead and fix all that stuff and maybe make it a winter driver. Who knows? But we're gonna go park her in the yard and kind of figure out what we're gonna do with it.